Welcome back to Monday Night Lights, second week of our podcast. Tim Hoffmeister alongside Lewis Schaefer on this Memorial Day. And we would like to thank everyone who has served, is serving. Obviously, we can't have this great freedom, and we wouldn't be able to do this podcast, and you wouldn't be able to listen to it without all the men and women who serve. So we're very grateful for them. I set up my American flag. I think I'm going to keep it for the rest of the year. It looks lit.
I was going to say, that looks good.
Yeah, I found it in my basement. And then I was like, well, let's just roll with it. We might as well. Because I have a big Notre Dame thing that I was going to put up. I don't know if I was going to put that up, but I decided it wasn't worth it. I've had the American flag. Everyone loves America, so.
Exactly.
Basically, if you don't like this podcast, you don't like America. That's basically what we're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
So we'll say like we did last week. Obviously, it's the most pressing not issue, because if you watch Game 6, that Game 6 was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I believe last week we said we both looked Thunder up 3-1, and you knew Thunder looked great, but they weren't going to be able to finish it in 5. I said Warriors in 6. I knew it was going to be able to go a good distance, at least 6 or 7, and I had Warriors. So I still like the Warriors because they're at home.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, we were saying when I was watching the game, I said there's no way now that that the Thunder can take one in Golden State. Not a Game 7. If it were Game 5, maybe. Even though I know they lost Game 5 in Oracle, but I mean they've just come roaring back from 3-1 when everybody had them out for dead. I think this is. The Golden State might blow them out in Game 7. I could realistically see that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when you look at, like, especially Game 6, I know everyone was putting so much stuff out about the Thunder choking, and, like, Westbrook and Durant obviously didn't have good fourth quarters at all. They shot terrible all game, turnovers. But, I mean, they're still two of the top. I don't want to get too crazy here. I guess I'll just say 2 of the top 10 best players in the league, just to avoid any controversy. But I would even go as high as 2 of the top 5 players in the league.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I mean, they're great players. Westbrook is a mismatch. I mean, Draymond hasn't had a good series at all. So I can realistically see the Thunder winning. I mean, they've won 3. Why not win a 7th or win a 4th to win the series? But then again, you saw what Thompson did, and been waiting for the whole series for Thompson to have a game like that, because I think it's really kind of sad. He's kind of the most underrated player in the NBA at this point.
Yeah, I would put him, if not the second best shooting guard in the league behind Jimmy Butler. And I mean, he's just not appreciated because it's, Steph Curry and Draymond Green. He at times he can kind of just fill that role as a spot up shooter, but it's a damn good spot up shooter.
Oh yeah, and then if you watch them, I've tried to catch every Warriors game this season. I think he may be their best player. I mean, yeah. He's a great shooter. He's great. He's a great defender. He's great when he can drive. So, I mean, you see Draymond, like, he was getting so much hype this year that, like, it kind of scared me, because eventually he'll do something like he's done in this series, and then people are going to be like, oh, well, he's not that great. Well, I think he was hyped up more than he was. Think about it. He was a second-round pick. Like, the fact that a second-round pick's giving you close to a double-double in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, I mean, that's pretty great regardless. But, I mean, yeah, I like the Warriors just because I like to see history.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I mean, coming back from 3-1, they've earned some of my respect here. We saw it in the studio. I didn't like them. I wasn't on their bandwagon. But I think now that I kind of want to see them win. Because having to come back from down 3-1, even though, they're a great team. They're 73 wins. I mean, there's never been a team as good as them, air quotes. The fact that they've had to come back from 3-1 while LeBron dropped 2 games to the Raptors when their point guard needs to decompress. Um, you know, I I wanted to see, the whole postseason. I wanted to see the Spurs, because they did all that to improve their team against the Cavs, because I want to see LeBron have a chance to bring one to Cleveland. But now I kind of want to see it now, even though I'd love to see the Thunder win a championship, because I mean, they trade James Harden for Jeremy Lamb and have bounced back. They traded for Dion Waiters, and he's just a cancer to a team and have bounced back. I'd love to see them win a championship, but the fact that they were up 3-1 and couldn't win one of two games to put away the defending champions makes me question their ability against a Cleveland. And Golden State has proven that they can beat them and beat Cleveland. And I really want to see them win it now. They've earned my respect, like I said, from coming back from 3-1 to tie the series, probably win it. While LeBron, like I said, dropped 2 games to Toronto, who I think their best player might be Drake. So
I don't know. Their best player was probably Bismack Biyombo at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, one thing I do want to touch on. I liked the Thunder before the Warriors were even anything, when they were losing games, when they traded Bogut for Ellis, when they I was thinking, what are they possibly doing? And I just thought, they're just nothing. They drafted Steph Curry. I thought he was going to be another Adam Morrison or a Jimmer Fredette, even though Jimmer came after him. Types of those players, a JJ Redick, they just tear it up in college and don't do anything. I really thought that because of his size. And, I mean, he's a great shooter now, and in college he was a great player. But, I mean, the shooting wasn't phenomenal in college, so no one could have expected this. Yeah, just because I'm rambling. I've always liked the Thunder. Serge Ibaka. He's one of my favorites. I've always liked him. I mean, I really liked the Seattle Supersonics, so I was kind of upset when they changed, but I figured I might as well like the new team. I never really had a reason to hate them. Durant gives off. He's not like, when you have that great player, you want that assassin, in fourth quarter, if it's close and you have Jordan, he's gonna flip a switch and he's gonna be the assassin. He's gonna make the buckets and just murder the other team. I like players like that. LeBron is like that. Kobe. So I kind of like those players. But the fact that Grant has the ability to be that silent assassin almost, because he's not in your face in commercials. I mean, he isn't some recently, but still, he's not in your faces, and he's not talking. He's not shutting down his Twitter. He's not doing all this crap. He's just a very good player.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I kind of like that, but I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to see history. And that's what I want to ask you. I noticed a lot on Twitter and on Facebook. I'm always on social media because I like to think that it means something, because I have 500 followers, so I like to think it means something. It doesn't, but you see a lot of people wanting the Thunder. They talk crap on the Warriors. They want they're not as good as the Bulls still, and especially Sean Fleazar, who is filled in on air for you. They're still not as good as the Bulls. They're still not. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. So I don't know why, but I think it's why wouldn't you want to see history? I mean, it's not really a question. It's kind of a statement.
Yeah.
But talking my dad and my uncles and my neighbors, and they're like, oh, if you would have saw Jordan play that 72 win team, they were phenomenal. Jordan's best in the world. Why wouldn't I want to see the best team ever, so I could be well, I did see the best team ever record wise, or I can make an argument that they were the best team ever, better than the 72 win Jordan Bulls, and then I can say that to my kids. I like to see records broken, especially personally, because then now it's almost like the older generation can't one up me anymore.
Yeah. I know me. I mean, I'm always a big one for not liking repeats. So, I mean, seeing Golden, I can tolerate it if it's one of the same teams, and then someone else. But the idea that it was going to be Golden State Cleveland again rubbed me the wrong way a bit. But I am looking at it as, I don't know what it is. And I think it's a combination for me, at least, because, I mean, if you look at my Twitter, after every game they've won, it's kind of like, okay, come on, OKC, let's finish this off. I tweeted it before the fourth quarter in Game 6. I was like, okay, winning time, let's go, OKC. But, I mean, it's a lot of things with the Warriors for me. I don't like Draymond, mostly because I don't like teams that, like, if you're the star of the team, if you were to make a list of best player on the team, and if you're number one, I have no problem with you running your mouth, whatever, because Kobe did that for years. I mean, I have no problem with that. It's when the second, third, or even the bench guys start, their egos get up there and they start talking and whatever. And I mean, I'm a fan of Westbrook too. I've loved watching his evolution from he's just a shooting guard and a point guard that thinks he's a point guard to a threat for a triple-double every night. But the Adams kicking incident, him calling out Westbrook, I was kind of like, okay, Draymond, relax there. And then, I mean, ESPN doesn't help either for me. Every time, I think after Game 5, I think it was, like they got it on camera of Curry saying we're not going home, and like they kept playing it. I was like, okay, I get it. There's a Game 6. Okay, I get it. And I think with him too, with me, it's the whole 2009 draft with with them going Curry at 7 and the Knicks having 8. So I'm still a little bitter over that, but
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean with the Draymond thing. Like, he does run his mouth, and he's not the best player. But then you look at other teams, like championships teams, even the bad boys, like Isaiah Thomas and Dumars were their best player, but they weren't running their mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be trash talking during the game, but after the game, Bill Laimbeer will be like, yeah, that elbow was intentional, and Dennis Rodman's also there. Same thing with the Jordan Bulls in 72.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jordan was a great trash talker, but, I mean, Rodman was the crazy one. He's the one talking. He's the one with the cheap shots and whatever. So I think you kind of need that as a team. I mean, think about the Knicks maybe in this scenario. I mean, Kristaps isn't going to be out there on ESPN like calling out like players. Like I just doesn't come off as him. Like, you always need that instigator, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, but there are teams that have done it where the best player was also the instigator.
Oh, yeah. No. I agree with you, but it's not always the case. I mean, you got Curry and Thompson, they're just like, whatever. And even with the Thunder, you look at the Thunder. I mean, Durant's their best player, but you could say Westbrook's the instigator.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens in this game tonight. We both think the Warriors will come out on top. If you're listening to this live, I'm sure you have your own opinion on it. And if you listen to this afterwards, you can tell us that we're stupid, depending on the outcome. So, all right. So we'll go to right now. And I know I was going to save this till last, but, I didn't know how Lewis was going to be with that. So I figured before he cut me off, ended the podcast, because he has the controls on his side for the first time this summer. I figured get it out of the way, catch him off guard so he doesn't see what's coming. You're wearing your Mets shirt. Who are you wearing?
Cespedes.
Oh, man, Cespedes. All right, so your boy Chase Utley, my boy Chase Utley. I actually have his figurine, but since I'm redoing my room, he's buried. I would bring out the figurine and I would hold it the entire time I talked. But I didn't do that. I got an Utley shirt too, but I wasn't really prepared to get this stuff out. But anyway, Noah Syndergaard throws behind Chase Utley, and Chase Utley, being the man he is, hits a solo shot and then a grand slam to give the Dodgers the win. And Syndergaard was tossed because of the pitch. There's been back and forth on whether he should have or shouldn't have. So I might as well get your biased opinion now. We'll see what you got to say. What do you think about that, Lois?
I'm going to start off in defense of my guy, Thor. The ejection was out of line. I mean, baseball's definitely – I mean, I see where they're coming from. You just had, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something from the playoffs start a whole issue with the Odor Bautista fight because they threw at him for the bat flip. But, I mean – I didn't see the pitch. I was at work, and I just got the alert that he was ejected. But seeing it afterwards, it wasn't even – I think it looked like he was trying to get like a changeup or a curveball over and just didn't –
I think it was a slider.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And just didn't have – he just lost it. I mean, that happens all the time with a curveball or a slider. Anything that breaks, you can lose it, and it ends up hitting the guy or getting behind him or I mean, I don't think Thor's case was helped by the fact that what he said, what was it, Game 3 of the World Series, I think it was, when he pitched, and the first pitch he threw was real tight over Alcides Escobar's head. And he said in his press conference afterwards, he's like, well, I'm 60 feet away if you have a problem with it. But, I mean, I genuinely think he lost control of the pitch. I don't think he was trying to hit him. I mean, for irony's sake, Ruben Tejada was DFA'd by the Cardinals on Friday. So he was gone from his second team after his team after the Mets. I don't think the Mets had any incentive in going after a 36-year-old Utley that took out a guy that we cut in spring training the year after. I think it was aided on by the fans and the media. Oh, are they going to hit him? Are they going to hit him? And, first pitch of the at-bat, he loses a slider and gets tossed. I think the ejection was way out of line.
I think you're nuts, dude. You can't tell me that he lost that slider. That was obviously – now, see, here's his thought. You kind of covered a little. He goes, all right, Utley's 36 years old. It's not even worth hitting him in the third inning. And no one's going to expect it to be in the third inning, and I don't think I'm going to get thrown out anyway, so let me just throw behind him. If he actually hits him, maybe he thinks an ejection's coming. But he's thinking, oh, I threw behind him. It's not going to happen. But listen, we all knew it was coming eventually.
Yeah.
Like, Utley was getting hit. I mean, I don't understand it because Tejada's not on the team anymore, but I get it from a standpoint of it wasn't more so going after that player. It was going after the team. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't think it would have – I don't care who was at shortstop. I don't care if it was David Wright because of a shift or if it was Joe Schmo. I think Utley would have done it regardless, and I think the Mets were going to react regardless. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of thing about baseball has to be consistent, but like you said, with what happened 2 weeks ago with Bautista, I don't think – when I growing up playing, I've always was told, don't give the umpire or ref a reason.
A reason, yeah.
And with all this stuff happening and, oh, we got to clean up the game's policing itself, is that the right thing to do? I think it was obviously intentional to throw behind him. I think it was the umps were like, well, we just got to end this now. And maybe the Mets were expecting a warning. And then that'll be it. Throw behind them. Hey, Utley, you better watch yourself. Warnings, and that's it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what should have happened. But then again, it comes back to don't give them a reason because that ended up hurting them big time. And Utley got the last laugh with 2 bombs.
Yeah. That was poetic justice, I guess you could say, for it. But I agree. I think there should have been. I think they were quick to react, like I said, because of what happened in Texas when they hit Bautista because of the bad flip. Similar situation. It's, and especially because he platoons with Kendrick, you have Cologne going on Sunday night. So, you don't know if you're going to get Utley again necessarily. And if they wanted to hit just anybody, they would have hit Kendrick or Seager or someone in the playoffs and gotten it over with. But I think the trigger was quick to be pulled, like I said, because of what happened in Texas with the Bautista Odor hitting Bautista for the bad flip 6 months later. But I mean, I agree. I think there should have been warnings. Had he hit him, and it was the 99 mile an hour fastball that Thor can throw. Yeah, by all means, it was intentional. Like, we got our hardest throwing pitcher out there, and we got this guy in the game. Drill him while we have the chance. But I mean, throwing behind. I mean, and Utley barely moved. I mean, it wasn't like he had to get out of the way drastically.
I mean, let's be honest. If Utley's getting thrown at, he's not moving. That's
exactly. But the ball, it's not like it where it ended up passing Utley. I mean, he arched his back out of the way a little bit, but it wouldn't have hit him.
No, not at all.
It wasn't even close. So I agree with you. I think they were just trying to get the slider behind him and say, "Listen, we remember. Don't act like we didn't. Don't act like we don't remember what you did to Tejada." But I think, the fact that it was a slider, the fact that it was so far behind him, he would have had to be the size of Prince Fielder, Bartolo, and David Ortiz combined to hit him. I agree. I think there should have been warnings, but I can see where the trigger was quick to be pulled, like I said, because of Texas.
Yeah. No, I'm the ejections don't really faze me at all. It really gave me something to smile about. Obviously, with the Phillies and the Marlins struggling recently, I haven't had much good baseball to watch. So seeing a former Philly hit 2 home runs off the Mets, and then Syndergaard getting ejected, and Mets fans being all cranky, it made me smile. So, but yeah, I think I don't know what they're going to be able to do, because if they make it an official rule, then teams are just going to find a way around that rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if they're going out hitting people, and that's what they do to police the game themselves, and if the Major League Baseball makes a rule, there's always a loophole in the rule, and then they're probably just going to break it anyway. Maybe baseball has to talk to the umpires, get a little more consistent, but it's a fine line, because if you give out warnings, what does that stop the Dodgers later when they bring in, I don't even know who the relievers are, but if they bring in one of the relievers, 2 outs, 8th inning, maybe the pitcher spot's on deck, what's stopping them from hitting a guy?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a fine line, and the Mets didn't come out on top there.
No, not at all.
All right, let's talk some NHL and the Stanley Cup Finals. I was very wrong. Can't remember what you said last week on the show, but I was very wrong when it came to the finals. I thought it was going to be Blues Lightning. They were both up 3-2 in the series, I believe, and I really liked them. I know the Sharks had great games against the Blues, but the Blues were up in the series. They were fighting, and I thought, they just got to hold them off one more game, and one of those games is at home. And same thing with the Lightning. I was like, the Penguins looked good at some points, but they didn't give me a reason to show, all right, we're going to win the next 2 games, one on the road. So I thought Blues Lightning, that's what I liked. I really was a fan of that series, but it is Sharks Penguins, and like we said last week, anyone but the Penguins, and now we're starting to sweat as the Penguins have made it this far. Sharks in their first cup, so we'll see.
Yeah. I was happy when the Sharks made it. I think last week I said Lightning Sharks. I think because we both just couldn't tolerate potentially the Penguins being in it. But I mean, I think it comes back to at the end of the day, I was rooting for whoever it was that came out of the West. Looking at it, and I had Tampa. I mean, at least as a Rangers fan, I had Tampa, who has Callahan, Boyle. I think they have Strawman. They got a bunch of ex-Rangers. The Penguins have Hagelin. I don't want to see either of them win, to be honest with you. So I was rooting for the Sharks in this, mostly because the Blues had ex-Capitals, who I also don't really like. They have ex-Capitals because of the Oshie trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I was rooting for the Sharks all along when it got to the Final Four. So we'll see if they take the whole thing. I hope to God they do, because I cannot tolerate it if the Penguins win. But yeah, you're right. We'll have to see, because I think it's gonna be a good series. I think it goes 6 or 7.
Oh yeah, I really hope it goes 6 or 7. I mean, Game 1's tonight. I'm gonna miss most of it because of the Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals, as we already talked about that. But yeah, I think it's funny. We look at it differently. I have Coburn and Carl on the Lightning, and I was thinking, all right, I would like to see them win a cup. Got a signed puck by Matt Carl. Coburn he got us 2 first-round picks. Sure, why not? And then, of course, I have Scotty Upshaw with the Blues. So I was like, all right, former Flyers, let's do it. So it's funny how we look at that differently. But yeah, overall, anyone but the Penguins. So
Exactly.
the one thing I'm looking at in the series is really how Crosby and Malkin were. I mean, they really haven't shown up much this postseason at all. It's been Phil Kessel, which is pretty interesting, because playing in Toronto all those years, he didn't really have much playoff experience.
Yeah.
And then you have goalie Matt Murray, who looks like he'll be taking the spot from Fleury for the rest of this postseason, and maybe for the rest of Fleury's career. He may be on his way out, depending on how they look at Murray. I don't know if they keep Fleury around next year and then just kind of go half and half, just to give him like a fallback. Like, it's not all the pressure's on a 22-year-old kid. Now it's not really on you at all. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. We have Fleury. But I think it's Murray's the rest of the postseason, and that Sharks power play. You saw Pittsburgh against Tampa Bay. They're one of the best teams. They have Ryan Callahan at getting under your skin. And if Malkin's going to be taking penalties, Crosby can take penalties. I mean, just Crosby against the Flyers, he's been in the penalty box plenty of times, because he can get under their skin. So it's interesting to see if guys like Brett Burns, who I can almost guarantee will get under most people's skins. I think he's under most teammates' skins at this point. I feel like he doesn't shower. Yeah. I feel like he's one of those. He's one of those players that you're like, you know what, man, we're not losing, so I might as well just not shave or shower. And they're just like, come on, Brett, like, what are you doing? So he kind of gives off that vibe, but I like him a lot as a player. I like the beards on the Sharks, but yeah, that power play, especially with Pittsburgh, they can lose it real quick. Especially with players like Letang, Crosby, Malkin, you're big-time players. I've seen them get in the box when they get frustrated. So that'll be interesting to watch. And I think if the Sharks can do that, get themselves in the power play, keep it in the offensive zone, I think they'll be fine. I think they should. I have them in 6 games.
You have the Penguins
Sharks.
in 6, or the Sharks in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably go that too. Maybe 7, but I don't want it to go to a Game 7, because you never know what, like you said
Exactly.
last week, you never know what could happen in a Game 7. But yeah, I want to see the Sharks. I wouldn't mind a sweep just to stick it to Pittsburgh. But I do. I really want the Sharks to win this.
Yeah. A lot of bias on the show tonight, man. It's really out there. All right, right now we'll go to NFL. We'll go through the best rookie on every team. We did that on our last show of the school year on the radio. We're going to go through 11 to 20 this time, just give our predictions. And then we're each going to make an odd prediction for Game 7 tonight, and then we're going to see who gets closest. I'm really hoping I get a double-double from Varejao, but that's not my that's not my odd prediction. I got an even better one, but that's a good one right there. That's just an option. All right, so we'll pick up as we left off. Obviously, 1 through 10. Last team was the Giants.
Yep.
We'll pick up with the Chicago Bears, and obviously their first-round pick was Leonard Floyd. So I'll ask you, Lewis, who is going to be their best rookie this year?
See, this one's interesting because they got a bunch of guys. Even though the Giants were looking at him at 10, and I probably would have thought he's the next great thing if the Giants got him, but I think the Bears overdrafted Floyd, especially when you think Jack was still on the board because of, as the case is with every team in the first round. But I think the biggest thing, the best pick for them is going to be Cody Whitehair from Kansas State, the guard.
Yeah.
I think that, he's versatile. He played some left tackle at K-State, along with, he's a guard in the draft, but he did play some tackle. The big thing's been proven. You just have to. He's a bad quarterback, Cutler, but he gets slightly better, I guess you could say, if you have a line in front of him. And they got rid of Slauson, I think. Yeah, Slauson. And I think Whitehair's going to step in there pretty well and make an impact this year. And, they got to keep the line together, losing Forte, so you're going to have what's his name from last year? Langford? Is that what his name was?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's not going to be he's not as good of a running back right now as Forte was. So you got to have the line to kind of help him get there, along with keeping Cutler on his feet, even though, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have him get hurt and see what the backup can do at this point, every year.
Who's even their backup right now in Chicago? Is it still Jimmy Clausen?
Yeah, I think it's still Clausen. Or did they draft somebody?
Did they sign Hoyer? Who signed Hoyer?
That's right. They signed Hoyer.
Cool.
Hoyer. Yeah.
My NFL's been slacking.
Mine too.
It's getting pushed back. But is it okay if I cheat a little here on this answer?
Go for it.
All right, I'm going to take Kevin White as their best rookie.
Okay.
It's just he's a Catholic League kid. I'm a Catholic League kid as well. He got hurt last year. He just never played at all. I thought he was drafted a little too high because of his size, but he's an explosive player. I like him a lot. Cutler's going to have a target to throw to. Cutler's going to win the MVP. No, I'm not going that far. Just kidding. But I think he'll have a really good year. And I think he is eligible for the Rookie of the Year, right? Because he did not play at all, right?
Yeah, I think he's eligible. He didn't play at all. Yes, he's eligible.
So we could see 2 Rookie of the Years that aren't rookies anymore, Kevin White and Dante Fowler. That would be something.
Yeah.
Wait, did I cheat with the Jacksonville Jaguars too?
No, because you like linebackers, so I went Ramsey and you went Jack.
That's right. I should have cheated. I should have went Dante Fowler, but all right, now we'll go the New Orleans Saints.
All right, let me just pull this up here. I found like a whole organized thing on NFL.com that I didn't have when we were in the studio. Let's see.
Oh, what, of the draft order of the rookies?
You can sort it by team. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay, so for the Saints, I am going to have to go with, again, I'm just going to continue with the theme here of just being the biased analyst here. Vondell, the safety from Ohio State. They got in the second round.
You're nuts, man.
I like him. Vaccaro, who knows what he's going to be anymore. He looked promising his rookie year. But obviously there were multiple issues on the Saints defense. But, looking at it, they signed fairly. So who knows how big of an impact Rankins will have this year. Drew Brees hits everybody. So, Mike Thomas, who they got with the 16th pick in the second round, will probably have just as many catches as Willie Snead. And Brandon Cooks and whoever. He just distributes very well. But I think Von Bell is going to have a chance to really step up in their secondary and be an impact player year one. I mean, you saw at Ohio State, he's got the ability to cover a receiver if you need him to. So I really like that pickup for the Saints.
And he never fails to be biased. That might be your middle name now, Lewis Bias Schaefer.
It might be. It might be.
You might as well get it changed. Because you mentioned Fairley got signed by the Saints, I'm going to go with Sheldon Rankins because I believe that takes some pressure off him and it allows him to be more versatile. He can both rush the passer and stop the run, and that was the biggest problem for the Saints last year. They gave up the most rushing yards and most passing yards in the NFL. And I mean, with Drew Brees as your quarterback, if you're able to cut down and maybe be like middle of the pack or even like 20s in rushing yards a game and passing yards a game against, I think that gives you a pretty good chance at making the playoffs with a great coach and a great quarterback. So I think it will be Rankins because of Fairley and because they need him to be.
Yeah. I mean, I totally could see it. I just don't, I think he's going to suffer a bit from what we saw with, what's his name? Leonard Williams last year with the Jets. I mean, I think he's going to be a good player for the Saints. I just think this year, with Fairley being there, I'm not sure the opportunities are going to be there.
Yeah, but think about it. He doesn't have – the Saints line is not as nearly as stacked as the Jets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, I mean, he's going to be benefited by Fairley having most of the attention. But who else is there? I mean, Cam Jordan is good. But, I mean, like I said, everybody on that Saints defense had issues last year. So I'm just not sure. Like I said, he'll be benefited by having Fairley. But does Cam Jordan bounce back? If he does, that could help out Rankins a whole lot. Because now you got two guys that you need to double at most points in the game. Very similar to what the Giants are trying to do with getting Hankins and Pierre-Paul going with bringing in Harrison and Vernon. I really think that there's going to – if Fairley is what Fairley has been with the Rams last year, where he was just, I'm just going to stop the run and just you can't get up the middle. And I think they have a chance to do that with him and Rankins, like they did with him and Donald in St. Louis last year. But I think the Von Bell, especially in a division where you got Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, and why am I drawing a blank on the third team? Carolina, Tampa,
the Saints and the Buccaneers,
and Matt Ryan. Yeah. So, I mean, you got three good quarterbacks like to pass the ball. Cam's great. He was the MVP. You got Winston, who rookie of the year last year, so who knows how far he may take that next step. He may also have a sophomore slump, but if he takes that next step up and really evolves his game, you got three good quarterbacks in that division that you have to stop. Let's not forget that Eli Manning went down there last year in the dome and threw 6 or 7 touchdowns. They had a serious issue stopping the pass. So I think Von Bell really gives them that. And to get him that late in the second round, too. I mean, I saw some mock drafts that had him going high second, low first, and they got him at the end of the second. So I think they got a steal, and I think they got a really good player in Von Bell.
Something tells me next year in the studio I'll be seeing you with a Saints Von Bell jersey on.
Maybe.
It's happening. I could feel it. All right, so now we'll go number 13.
I might have every Ohio State player except for Zeke Elliott. Let's be honest.
You can bite the bullet on Zeke Elliott.
No.
I mean, come on. If you're going to get any jersey, you're going to get the guy that's going to be the most successful, right?
Yeah, Joey Bosa.
So would you get a Joey Bosa if Joey Bosa had ended up with the Cowboys?
No.
No. Jesus, man. Decisions.
I could I like Cam Newton. I really like him. If he was on Philly or Dallas or Washington, I would not get his jersey.
Just get an Ohio State version of Joey Bosa then, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to number 13, and they had the most interesting draft picked because interesting is the best word I could describe to Laramie Tunsil and that video. It seems like a no-brainer. It is for me who their best pick is. What do you think?
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil. I mean, huge steal. I mean, that's just they get a nice. I mean, let's be honest. There's no other way to put it. It's a steal. They got a great player that could have went one before the 2 drafts for quarterbacks, and then everything fell to hell because of the video of him smoking pot. And I mean, we talked about it in the studio the day after the draft, or the Monday after the draft, and we said we're like, this was the 13th pick that we looked at with the Eagles and said, okay, maybe they get Jack Conklin. This is obviously before, like I said, before the trades, and you had the best, widely considered the best tackle in the draft go at 13. So, I mean, that just goes to show how much of a value they got at 13 with getting him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that video is old, but still you have to worry about his issues as long as he stays healthy. They don't have to rush him to left tackle right away because of Brandon Albert. But then again, Brandon Albert's pretty old, so they might want to move him to right tackle. I mean, I don't really see any other rookie that, for the Dolphins at least, it really gives me they should do head and shoulders better than Tunsil, because I thought Tunsil was the number 1 pick. So, I mean, if he's decent, I think it's a great pick because of where they got him.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
I think that's a no-brainer. All right, next we have the Oakland Raiders. Possibly a stretch because they took Carl Joseph in the first round. Does that affect who your best rookie is for them?
If they didn't have Derek Carr, I would say Connor Cook. I think he's going to be. I mean, he's not going to have a great career now, I don't think, unless Carr gets hurt, because he's just going to be a backup. I think you tweeted during the draft, he must have the worst resting bitch face ever.
Yeah.
But I would go Joseph. For mine, I think they got a nice player. Overdrafted him, definitely. But you got such great play from a 39, 40-year-old Charles Woodson last year. You got such great play from him that even though he was older, it's not going to be looked at as, oh, it was this, legend playing up to what he was used to. It's, you're getting outplayed by an old man from last year. And I thought they had their options in free agency. I thought they were going to pursue possibly a Weddle or some of the other safeties that were out there. Maybe try Janoris Jenkins at safety because he has ball skills. I thought they had options out there. Didn't hit on any of them. But I think you overdrafted them, but you needed to because you need someone out there. Because that's probably the one spot on their defense that the fans are going to notice the hole that would be left there by Charles Woodson.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy because if you asked me 3 years ago, if this was 3 years ago Raiders, I would say they overdrafted them. I mean, it's the Raiders, so the pick's not really going to turn out to be anything anyway.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, you see what their picks have become, and I really, really like this pick, Carl Joseph. He kind of reminds me of Charles Woodson-esque, and I kind of wish Charles Woodson would play another year so he could learn under him.
Yeah.
But then again, the assistant DB's coach is Rod Woodson. So, I mean, you give some, you take some. So, I mean, he's going to be learning from Rod Woodson. I think, obviously, there's going to be some rookie troubles in the beginning because he was drafted higher than he should have been. But I think he'll be their best because when you look at that team, that defense, especially that pass rush, he's not going to have a lot of pressure on him to be great. He just has to be decent, and I don't think that defense will take a step back.
Yeah, no, not at all. I agree. I mean, I think they needed a safety. I mean, there was no question about that. I mean, their defense otherwise is solid, so they filled the hole. Yeah, they overdrafted them, but you want to know something? Sometimes you just got to take what you need. I mean, you didn't need another receiver. You didn't need, because you got Cooper. You didn't need necessarily, Zeke was gone, so you weren't going to go Derrick Henry in the top 20. They're the biggest hole was safety, and you needed to do something about it. And yeah, they overdrafted him, but yeah, you had to. You need someone that could play it. And if you can get a nice young guy who could develop into the next, who knows? It could be a bust. It could be the next Woodson or Dawkins. You got to take that chance in the first round.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind that they had to take that chance. All right, number 15, it was the Titans. Or it was the Rams, then it was the Titans, and then it became the Cleveland Browns, and they took Baylor wide receiver Corey Coleman. Who do you think their best rookie is?
I'm just gonna throw this out now for Sean in case he listens now or later on YouTube maybe. 7th round, 29th pick, 250 overall. They did draft Scooby Wright III, who he absolutely had to say during the mock draft that he took him in the 2nd round.
Oh, man. I would have given him time to say that he liked him. He would explain why, but he took him anyway.
He took him anyway, just so we could talk about him. But I would go. I'm looking at it now. They had a lot of nice picks, but they won't hit because they're the Browns. But,
hey, man, we used to say that about the Raiders. You never know.
But I do. I'm looking at it, and I kind of like Carl Nassib. I like that pick. Obviously, a little bit of bias, just a little bit, because I like his brother.
You love his brother, not like love.
Love his brother, yeah. But, I mean, he had a good year at Penn State in his last year. 6'7", 277. So long term, he could play either for you. If you want to bulk him up, he could be a D tackle just fine. But I mean, he had a decent 40. He's like I said, he had a great year his last year, Penn State this year. But I mean, looking at it, I like the pick. I mean, if he continues to build on what he did his last year Penn State, maybe this is a nice pick for them. I mean, 65th overall. I mean, and plus you take into account that they have to get out of some bad contracts in the short term. And you're looking at Kruger. You're looking at, Mingo is a bust. You're going to need to replace his edge ability. And I think they got that. I mean, they got it in Agba too, but there's not necessarily the versatility, I guess you could say, with Agba. I think he's, an end, and he's going to be an end. I mean, the Coleman pick I also like, but I don't trust RG3. So I'm going to go Nassib.
Yeah, I like Nassib, but I think he'll take a couple of years to develop. I mean, he was a walk-on at Penn State, and Bill O'Brien told him, you better pick up a day job because you ain't making it to the NFL. Obviously, I like his story, so I want him to succeed. But I think it'll take a couple of years he has to build up strength. He has to really kind of get an NFL body before he can become an NFL player. This kind of reminds me of like a poor man's J.J. Watt. Like, he was effective in college, but his body wasn't there. And if he has anywhere the work ethic of J.J. Watt, I think he'll be fine. But I'm going to go with Corey Coleman because, I mean, in our mock draft, I had Zeke Elliott going to them at 8 because, I mean.
Because I wouldn't trade up with you.
Yeah, and because I think they needed a playmaker. They needed some excitement. RG3 can add some of that if he can play like he can play. But, I mean, you saw it they were terrible when Josh Gordon was there. But, I mean, he was an exciting player. and he brought some excitement to that team. I mean, I remember hearing about the Browns on SportsCenter because of Josh Gordon, and then of course you heard about him afterwards because of the issues with Josh Gordon and eventually Manziel. But I think Corey Coleman kind of fits what Josh Gordon is. Baylor player. He was obviously better in college than Gordon. He obviously has a better resume off the field wise than Gordon. So, I mean, I like it because I think it can bring excitement to the Cleveland Browns. And it's weird because I want to see some excitement there because they're a terrible sports town. But I kind of enjoy them not winning championships because it makes them not as bad as Philly. And in this time, where the Philly sports are like, it scares me that we may be on our way to becoming Cleveland. So, I mean, the Phillies are giving me some hope, but other than that, it's still scary. So, but I think Coleman, definitely.
Okay.
All right, then we have 4 more. Yeah. 1, 2, 5 more, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll 21. We'll just do 21 and 31 next time. So we got the Detroit Lions. Obviously, their biggest hit this offseason was losing the great Megatron. He retired. And they went tackle first round. I guess he will be your favorite because he's an Ohio State guy. But I guess I'll just have to ask you because it's courtesy to ask.
Actually, you would have been wrong. You would have been wrong. I really like the Ashawn Robinson pick for them. I mean, yeah, they added Nada last year when they lost Sue and Fairley, but I mean, no one's going to replace that production, and especially Nada, who you know what you have in him. You know, he's going to give you exactly what he gave the Ravens, that, you know, presence up the middle. He's a run stuffer. He'll get maybe 5, 6, 7 sacks on a good defensive line. Detroit didn't necessarily have that. You know, it was really just Nada and then Ziggy Ansah. So this one improves their line overall. So now you could have him and Nada and Ansah. You know, now you're cooking with gas a little bit because you got to. You know, they're gonna draw attention and draw double teams eventually. But you know, I really like the Ashawn Robinson pick. I think Nada is definitely on the back 9 of his career. It's a year-to-year thing at this point with him as to whether or not he'll be back or not, and let alone then if he signs with Detroit. You got to remember with a guy like that, he spent so much time in Baltimore. He may just be like, okay, one more year with the Ravens and I'm done. So I like the pick. It gives them a guy to pair with Nada in the short term and a guy to replace him in the long term, so you're not stuck in the same shitty position you were when Sue went to Miami and Fairley went to St. Louis, and, oh, well, let's go send a pick to someone to get someone to play here, you know?
Yeah, I think it will be Robinson, but I want it to be Decker, even though I'm not an Ohio State guy. I'm mainly not an Ohio State guy because you're an Ohio State guy. But I want that line to have protection because I want to see what Matthew Stafford actually is. Can he become the quarterback we all thought he could coming out of college? He doesn't have Megatron. You still have Golden Tate as receiver. You have Theo Riddick in the backfield who's a very good pass catcher. I want to see what Stafford can do without Megatron, and I think the only way he could do that is with a good tackle like Decker. So I want it to be Decker because I want to see Matt Stafford really take that next step to being a good the quarterback he should be, because you see sometimes the potential and you're like, wow, this guy could be great, but he just never had that ability. But I think if you give him a solid line, solid protection, I think you may be able to see more flashes of it and maybe him become that. And that's what I've been waiting for. I mean, coming out of college, I was excited about Matt Stafford. But I think it'll be Robinson, but I want it to be Decker.
Okay. So you're going with the Ohio State guy this time.
I am. 17, we have the Atlanta Falcons. They took Keanu Neal with the 17 overall pick. kind of fits the Cam Chancellor type and Dan Quinn's defense. I thought it was a little high, but what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a little high, but I think they got a steal to make up for it in the third round with Austin Hooper from Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I think last year they were playing Bear Pasco or someone that was like a third string on the Broncos that just had numbers because of Peyton Manning.
Was it Jacob Tamme?
Yeah, it was Tammy.
I love Jacob Tamme.
Yeah, they had him. But I think, again, similar to the Lions, it gives them a guy, he may not have the biggest impact this year. Third-round pick, he's got Tammy in front of him. But I think long-term he's going to fit into that offense with Julio and Matt Ryan and Devonta Freeman. And, I mean, let's be honest here, that defense, that team is so far in because of the Mike Smith era with being a head coach. They're so invested in offense that if Dan Quinn could build the defense, it's just going to help. And he spent the first two picks on that in Keanu Neal and Deion Jones. And I think if they work, it's gonna be just fine. But they're so invested in offense because of Freeman and because of Julio and because of Matt Ryan that if you can add to that, it just helps you in the long term. And I think Hooper gives them that and could potentially, I mean, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it could give them similar production to what Matt Ryan had with Tony Gonzalez, which they've been missing for 2 years. So
yeah, I mean, even if they get half of what Ryan had with Gonzalez, I don't know what Gonzalez had. I'm pretty sure he had like 90 catches a year when he was with them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if he's able to give him 45 catches a year, I think you would take that because look at what you've had the past couple years with your tight ends. I actually agree with you 100%. I think with that defense being just to say the lack of a better word,
yeah.
I mean, not really any pass rush. They're going to put all this pressure on a safety at this point. I mean, they say Cam Chancellor type, but I think why Cam Chancellor is so good is because of that pass rush with Seattle.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be Neal. I'm gonna have to agree with you at Hooper because think about what option is he at this point when you look at when Matt Ryan is dropping back to pass, who are you looking for? You're not looking for Austin Hooper.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, but Ryan will still find him because Ryan, like most quarterbacks, find a safety blanket with tight ends. Therefore, I think he'll have a pretty good year. I think he may be a sneaky rookie of the year possibility.
Yeah, I could see it. I've seen some comparisons for him that have compared him to Ertz. So we'll have to see.
I mean, just especially in the red zone. I mean, because Freeman's not a power back.
No.
I mean, you can't really stretch Julio in the red zone. So who are you looking for? And I think it'll almost be like you kind of have to look at your tight end at that point. And, I mean, I think that'll just keep growing. I really think he could be a sneaky rookie of the year possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, 18, Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, my boy Matt Hasselbeck could not take them to the promised land last year. I think they missed the playoffs totally because of that. He played good in the beginning of the year, but couldn't hold it up. Andrew Luck should be back, and they're trying to keep him protected. They went with center Ryan Kelly in the first round. Who do you think is their best rookie?
Exactly who you just said, Ryan Kelly, the center. Tougher we've seen to have a great center. They're few and far between. I mean, Mack, Mangold, Kelsey. I'll say that because of his jersey. The good centers are few and far between. There's a lot more good tackles and guards than there are centers. So Frederick. I mean, Dallas's whole building around the line started with Frederick. And taking Tyron Smith the year before, but he had all his issues at USC, and people weren't sure how he was going to pan out. It really kicked it into overdrive, like, okay, we're going to build around the line when they took Frederick. And I think who knows if it would be a Dallas situation where this is the starting point of, okay, now we're going to build around the line and keeping Luck on his feet. I mean, if they also hit on Raven Clark, sure. I think that would give them another piece to go with Costanzo and Mewhort. But I think this really gives them that piece. I think Kelly's going to be solid in there. And I mean, you just got to put people in front of Luck. You can't have that situation last year, not when it's not the almighty Hasselbeck and it's Josh Freeman now. So,
yeah, I agree with you. I think it'll be Kelly. I wouldn't hate if we got a Luck and Kelly that becomes the next Saturday in Manning. Like I wouldn't hate that. I kind of like when teams have the ability to almost mimic their previous error and really nail it. So I kind of wouldn't hate that at all. If they're able to build around center quarterback like Peyton Manning was able to do, I think that would be really cool to see. Sorry, I'm a nerd. That's kind of what I dig.
Yeah.
I think especially with the running game, it's so I mean, they have decent guards. I mean, they're not great guards, but I mean, they never really had a center, and I think he could play both guard and center if injuries happen. I think he'll play a big role in actually getting somewhat of a running game, and especially for goal line and just, I mean, keep Luck off his feet. I mean, Luck's a big guy. He might be able to take a couple hits from DNs, but I mean, if you get a D tackle on him, that's where the injuries are going to occur. So I think he will be best rookie for the Indianapolis Colts. All right, now we got the Buffalo Bills. We got our favorite man, Rex Ryan, over there with his Mark Sanchez tattoo. Obviously, he played a big role in drafting as they took 2 linebackers /DN. You can kind of stretch whatever you want Shaq Lawson to be. Who do you think their best rookie is going to be?
Well, my bias wants me to take Cardale Jones, but I won't do that.
EJ Manuel 2.0?
Mike Vick 2.0.
Oh, come on now. He's not nearly as small as Mike Vick.
Cam Newton 2.0.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to have to go with Reggie Ragland. I think it gives, the best defense. I mean, look at Carolina and Denver last year, having that real linebacker to kind of build everything else around with Kuechly and Von Miller. And I think Ragland kind of fits that mold. I mean, not to say that, like I said, not to say he's going to be Kuechly or Miller, but I think them, similar to Jacksonville, got a steal with him falling out of the first round. And I like the fact that they get him, they add him to, I don't want to say loaded. I wouldn't know if that would be the word I'd use to describe it. But I mean, you look, Kyle Williams, Shaq Lawson, Manny Lawson. I mean, their corners are up there. And they have the ability to put up points now too, which was a major issue for Rex. So I think you kind of need that linchpin, and your middle linebacker is really your linchpin in a defense. Because a corner kind of goes off on his own, and a defensive lineman just cares about getting his sacks. An inside linebacker is really that linchpin, and I think Rex got that in Reggie Ragland, just like he had in New York with a David Harris, or hell, in a Baltimore with Ray Lewis. I mean, again, not the talent, but it gives them that guy in the middle that could be that leader and make his plays, but also make sure, be that captain of the defense that Rex needs.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Cardale Jones. No, just kidding. I'm not that stupid. I wanted to say Shaq Lawson because I thought he was a younger, more athletic version of Mario Williams that fit better in the system. You could play DN, outside linebacker, to be more versatile than Mario Williams was. But, of course, he's got to get that surgery. You don't know how much he's going to play. Therefore, that kind of takes him out of the running. And I agree with you. I'm going to have to go Reggie Ragland. I mean, Rex Ryan defenses, I mean, like you said, they're kind of centered around the middle linebacker. And if you watch Alabama tape, I mean, obviously, like you said, not the skill of Ray Lewis yet. But, I mean, I can't remember a tackle that I didn't see Ragland in on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that guy was he flew around the football field and he was in every tackle. And that's why I really like him a lot. I think he's got a high motor. I think he's a really hard worker from what I see just on the football field. And there's no doubt in my mind that he can end up with 150 tackles this year.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got the potential long term to be a great middle linebacker. And I think if it does, it is a steal considering Green Bay could have easily won him in the first round and no one would have blinked an eye.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he was predicted to go in the first round, and definitely in most mock drafts and in our own mock draft.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll stay in the division. We'll go with a former Rex Ryan team, now Todd Bowles' team, Lewis's brother's favorite team, the New York Jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you have as their favorite rookie?
Long term, I'm going to go long term with this one. Christian Hackenberg.
Why?
I think they're going to get Fitz back, which is why I said long term. It looks more and more now that he's going to accept what the Jets are offering. I think I've heard 3 years, I think 10, 11, 12 mil a year, somewhere in that range. But at the end of the day, if he's good, it's still a 30, QB in his 30s, and you don't know how that's going to pan long term because he just as easily could be garbage the next year. And we've seen, look, I mean, I hate to say it, but look at Buffalo. I mean, when he got that extension there, immediately he started shitting the bed. He couldn't do anything right if he tried. So I have a bit of concern of the Jets committing a long-term contract to him. That's the only way you're going to get him. You're not going to get him on a 1-year deal at this point. But I think long-term, it gives them that option. Like, okay, we're not stuck playing Geno. And I think it's going to take Hackenberg a year, maybe a year and a half to get acclimated. Yeah, you can just do this. Well, they had that in Petty. Why did they have to take Hackenberg? But there's a reason Petty fell to the 4th round. I can do it in Madden, but I'm not a big believer in, 4th, 5th, 6th round QBs always being this steal. And, I think they had to go get a guy in case Fitz didn't come back. And now he looks like he wants to come back. But before this week, Hackenberg was going to be the starter. And he still could if Fitz decides, screw you, Jets, I'm going to retirement or I'm going somewhere else to be a backup. But I think long term, I like Hackenberg's arm. I think if he comes in knowing the plays, because he will if he sits a year and a half, I think that's going to cut down on the bad decisions that we saw at Penn State. And I think I like him to be a good quarterback. And I think at the end of the day, you had the 3 quarterbacks that went first round went, and then he went in the second round. And I think Cody Kessler was the next one off the board, or Jacoby Brissett, who the
I think it was Jacoby Brissett to the Patriots.
Yeah, who the Pats just kind of had to take somebody because right now Brady's out 4 games, so we need someone to back up Garoppolo. So I think we talked about that kind of talent drop off. There was Goff and Wentz, and then Lynch, Hackenberg, and maybe you want to include Cook in there, but obviously a lot of teams didn't include Cook in there because he fell to the 4th round to a team that has a franchise quarterback, not even a place where he could compete for the job. So I think the Jets had to go get a guy. I think they got their guy. And I also like the way he fits into the offense that they run in Chan Gailey's offense because he kind of fits what Fitz is, that tall, can stand in the pocket, can extend the play if you need him to, maybe. But I like him long term. And they said during the draft, the Jets at this point just have to keep drafting them and see if it pans out because eventually you're going to have what the Seahawks had in Wilson. You're going to hit on one of them, and it'll work. So I like the Hackenberg pick. I also think because they overdrafted Lee a bit. I think there were other players available.
I think it will be Darren Lee because Todd Bowles is very creative defensively. I think he'll blitz him in the right spots. So he'll find a way to make him effective, even if he's not effective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he'll put him in the situations, and if he does those things, if he does the right thing half of the time, I think we'll have a really good rookie year.
Yeah, I could see it.
Just because he's quick,
Yeah.
and like he might put him in the scenario where he's going to be the free blitzer. He may not get the sack all the time, but he'll be in position to get a lot of them.
Yeah. And I mean, you take into account that, I mean, their defense is loaded. There's no question about that. With that line, even with losing Harrison, they just have Williams step right in and nothing changes. So I think he will benefit from the fact that, I mean, the offensive line's concerned with stopping the line that they have with the Jets. And I think he's going to benefit from that. But I mean, it comes down. I think he's undersized for linebacker.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And
So
just because, like you said, their defense is so stacked, that can help you or hurt you. But I think his speed will play a difference in it helping him because the defense is so stacked. Now we can get him loose with his speed. The size doesn't play that big of a factor. However, though, I don't know if I want to go with Darren Lee because Todd Bowles, being Todd Bowles, is having a rookie punting competition between the 7th-round pick, I'm not saying this right probably, Lachlan Edwards and undrafted punter Tom Hackett. And they're going to have a punt-off during camp, and then one of them is going to make the team. And I think whoever wins that will be the most valuable rookie for the Jets because punters are people too.
Yep, punters are people too.
All right, so before we wrap up this show this week, I want to get your odd prediction for tonight's Game 7, and we'll see if we get close at all.
Let's see. I am going to go with Curry, Draymond, and Green combined for.
Wait, Curry, Draymond, and Green?
Oh, yeah. Curry, Draymond, and Thompson.
Okay, cool.
Combined for 85 points.
85. And then what was it last game? It was 73 for or what did Curry and Thompson combine for?
I'm not sure. I know Thompson had close to 40.
I think he had 41, and I think Curry had 29, so I think it was 70. So they were close to it last game, but Green has struggled a lot. Let's see. I'm going to go – here's my odd prediction. I'm going to go with Steve Adams as the highest scorer for the Thunder.
Do you think that's because he just goes off, or do they shut down Katie and Westbrook?
I think if Steve Adams ends up the highest scorer for the Thunder tonight, I think the Thunder win.
Really?
Yep, that's my odd prediction.
Oh man.
So that's what I got. I mean, I told you it was odd. If I wasn't picking an Anderson Varejao double-double, you knew it was going to be something odd.
What would the double-double be like? Steps taken and minutes played?
It'd probably be fouls and turnovers. He would find a way to get 10 fouls.
He would. He really would.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you're listening live or if you are listening on YouTube, obviously, if you subscribe, you can watch live on our YouTube channel. We tweet out and put on Facebook when we do it. So it'd be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any way to contact us while you're listening. Probably tweet in like the usual way that we used to do.
I think there's a chat on here too.
Is there really?
Yeah. I mean, I have it. I don't know if you have it, but
I'll have to check it out. This is very exciting. As we are using Google Hangouts, so you can see our wonderful faces, and so I can get cool backdrops. Maybe I'll just switch up my backdrop every weekend, but I don't know if I'd have enough.
Yeah, really. I need my mom to like clean out the guest room here so I can Not
Hey,
have
man.
like boxes and jerseys, and maybe I could hang the jerseys. That would
Yeah,
be
you could. I'm right in front of my window because my walls are white and my bed's covered with a bunch of crap because I just got new furniture and I had to put it all together. So I picked literally the only spot in my room that
didn't have shit everywhere.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week, Monday Night Lights on YouTube.